Welcome to Mondays with Maxwell. My name is Mark Cole. I'm the president and CEO of the John Maxwell Leadership Enterprise. I believe every one of you watching this right now is just like John. You welcome Mondays because you look forward to starting your week off looking for ways to value people. And since today is Monday, my friends, let's hear from the man of the hour. He is our leader, our friend, John C. Maxwell.
Hey, John Maxwell here. Welcome to Monday with Maxwell. Well, we've been putting a few weeks under our belt, and I'm doing a series on best advice. Because when I'm having dinner, a lot of times, one of the questions I love to ask is, what's the best advice you ever received? Who gave it to you, and why was it the best advice? And I have come away from dinner discussions with 2 or 3 advice thoughts that just kind of took me to a whole new level. In fact, when I was preparing this series on best advice, I looked at some of the advice I'd had, and some of them came out of those dinner conversations. And so we're glad that you're here today. And let me just take a moment and review in our last 4 weeks. Let me just share with you some of the advice that I've shared. Just do this real quickly. It's kind of a review. One of them was I suggest always bring something to the table. That was taught to me by Steve Babby, which he basically said every time you come to meet with somebody, bring something that adds value to you. Be intentional. And I have found that was just great advice. Another one that I gave, and I think it was the very first lesson, is people need recognition, and give it to them. And not only give it to them, but give it to them abundantly. People love to be recognized. I do, you do, we all do. And then if you'll remember, in that second lesson or series on best advice, I had Ed Bastian, who the CEO of Delta Airlines, and we were playing golf on a golf course one time, and I was telling him about this, and I asked him what the best advice he would give. And we talked in that lesson about humility and the fact that humility is essential for leadership. That if you're going to be a good leader, you have to be a humble leader. You have to stay grounded. And Ed gave us so many good thoughts in that teaching. And then the next week, back to my advice, and I gave a couple. One from my brother Larry. Control your destiny by controlling your dollars, and that is the fact that if you do it well, those dollars not only will help you to be generous with people, but if you do it well, those dollars will give you options, which really helps you to really form your life in a way that perhaps you want to. I also shared with you the advice that my mentor in writing gave to me when he asked me the question about, John, is this your best book? When I handed him one that had just come off the press, I think it was like maybe my 4th or 5th book. And I'll never forget, I said, yes, it's my best book. And what he gave me that advice, he said, good, because he said, you're only as good as your last book. And that was so big in my life. Every time I write a book, I realize I can't live off of yesterday. I can't live off of the book that helped a person, 5 years ago. Am I still adding value to them right now? Is this my best book? And then Dan Cathy, the CEO of Chick-fil-A, when I was talking to him, he gave me such wisdom. I'll never forget it as we were talking, and I passed it on to you. And that he said that he thinks leaders need to be self-aware and they need to be situationally aware. They need to be aware of what's happening around them, and they need to be very aware of themselves. So that's kind of a summary of what we did on best advice last month. And now that you're with me on another Monday with Maxwell, oh, by the way, I almost forgot. I got Andrew. Andrew's in the studio with me. And by the way, not only is Andrew in the studio, I've got 4 of our John Maxwell team coaches in the studio with me. So we got a big crowd here. We got 5 plus me, plus hundreds of thousands of you out there. And remember, Andrew has started giving advice, and he has such a great sense of humor. So every lesson you'll get an Andrew advice. And trust me, it'll probably be the one that you take home with you the most. And Andrew's advice to us this week is stay dry, because sharks will only attack you if you're wet. What do you think about that, coaches? Huh? I think Andrew, come on, man, you're just going to take it home every week with us. And the ridiculous they always remember. You do understand that. And so when they say, what did John say on Money with Maxwell today? They'd say, well, I don't remember what John said, but Andrew said, if you stay dry, you know. Okay. So anyway, and Coach, it's great to have you with me. And today I'm going to share with you, I think I can get maybe three, and I'm going to try. I'm going to share with you three things on advice that I have lived with that were given to me. And the first one is that attitude is the difference maker. And this is an important lesson and advice that I received because I was still, I was just a sophomore in high school. And Coach Don Neff, I'll never forget, we're getting ready to start the season. And before the first game, in the last practice, he said that he was going to announce who the captain of the team was going to be. And I'll never forget that when he said that John Maxwell was going to be the captain of the team, I was shocked because I was only a sophomore and everybody was older basically than me. And we were all shocked. I mean, it's kind of like we thought for sure one of the seniors would be the captain. And so I'm sitting there on that floor in that Mill Street gym in Circleville, Ohio, and I'm just saying, I think he just said I'm the captain of the team. And then what Don Neff said, I'll never forget, he said the reason he's going to be the captain, he's not the best player on the team. He says he's a good player, but he's very young. But the reason he's going to be the captain is that he has the best attitude. And he wants desperately for all of us to do well and succeed. And he said it's his attitude that sets him apart in the team. And I can still remember what would I have been at that time, maybe 15 and a half, 16 max. I can still remember sitting on that floor and saying to myself, attitude is important. And little did I realize that many years later I write a book on, attitude is the difference maker. But it reminds me of what John Wooden said one time when he said, you're not the best player on the team, but the team plays best when you're on it. And so attitude is so important. And so I made a decision as a sophomore kid that I was always going to have a great attitude. And what I discovered in my years on attitude is that attitude isn't everything, but it is the main thing. And I did write a book on the difference maker. And what I mean by it's not everything, once in a while I'll run people to say attitude's everything. I said, no, I don't think so. Honestly, if you have a job and you're incompetent, I mean, hello. I mean, if you go into surgery and the surgeon's not very good, I mean, is it any comfort to know that he has a good attitude and he's smiling at you as you go under? And and the last thing you hear is a oops, oh my gosh. So no, I don't think attitude's everything, but here's what I mean by the fact it's the difference maker. It's the main thing. Here's what I mean by that. Two people being equal. Okay, let's say you're getting ready to hire a person for a specific job, and they have pretty much the same background experience, pretty much same gift in this skill set. But one has a really great attitude, and one doesn't have such a hot attitude. I mean, it's very simple. Who are you going to hire? You're going to hire the person with a great attitude. It's the difference maker. And all of us know what it's like to be around a person that has a wonderful attitude versus what it's like to be around a person that doesn't have one. So as a sophomore in high school, when Don Neff, Coach Neff said, John, you're going to be the captain of the team, and told the other players the attitude. And I never will forget, by the way, that after that session, he asked if he could take me home. And so I said yes, and so he drove me home. And on his drive home, he looked at me now. See, he said, John, I've put a weight on you, an expectation on you. He said, the other players now are going to expect to see that attitude I talked about. He said, don't ever let me down. And I can still remember, as a kid, just taking that advice and saying, I'm going to make Coach proud. I'm going to make him proud. And even today, I still remember how I've carried that throughout my whole life, that attitude is the difference maker. It really is. The second one is the one I'm going to dwell on the most. And the advice I pass on to you here is advice that my father gave me. And I'll give you the setting in a moment. But the advice I give you is just very simple. Life's not about you. And maybe another way to say it that's a little nastier is just get over yourself. And in fact, I tell people all the time, you ought to, laugh at yourself. Everyone else is, so you might as well laugh at yourself and get over yourself. Don't take yourself seriously. But where I learned that and got that advice was when I was in college. My father was the president of the first college I went to, and it was a theological school because I was going into ministry, and so we had a college quartet, and I happened to be in that college quartet, and we were in Michigan on a trip, a kind of a musical tour, and we were going to do something that night. We were making a group decision. There were 5 of us in the quartet. My dad happened to be with us on this trip, and so we were kind of deciding what we're going to do that evening, and I didn't get my way. And I expressed myself. I said, I pouted, and I was not happy, and I let everybody know I wasn't happy. And I'll never forget that my father said, "Excuse me." He pulled me out of the group, and we went to another room where we were staying. And he set me on the bed, and he gave me my first lecture on "It's Not About You, John." And it was in that setting that he taught me the difference between maturity and immaturity. You talk about advice that helps you to grow up real quick. He said maturity, a person that's mature, they can see perspective from other people's viewpoint. He says somebody that's immature, they can only see their own perspective. It's all about them, and it's all about what they think or what they see. And he said, "John, you were very immature out there. It was all about you. And when you didn't get your way, it was really all about you," because he said you kind of created a fuss. And then I remember he grounded me. He just said, I just think that there are a couple of privileges I just need to kind of take away from you until you kind of get a little bit more mature, because it's not about you. Now, when I teach communication, I'm kind of excited because I'm working on another book. I'm just going to let you know this. I haven't shared this with anybody, but I've taught the laws of leadership, and there were 21 of those, and I taught the laws of teamwork. There were 17 of those, and then I talked about the laws of growth. There were 15 of those, and I think I've got one more laws book in me that I want to write, and I think just one more. But I've been wanting to write it for some time, and now I'm starting to get the itch, and I can always tell I'm getting the itch to write when I'm starting now to start putting stuff on paper and start. I got a folder, and I'm starting to throw stuff in that folder. And I think I want to write a book on the laws of communication, because I love to connect, and I love to communicate with people, and there are just certain laws that if you learn them and apply them into your life, you're going to be a great communicator. So I think I'm going to write a book on a future book, okay, on the laws of communication. And here's what I don't know what all the laws are, although I'm starting to collect them. By the way, if you think you know a good law on communication, just send it to me, okay? And if I take it and use it, I'll give you credit, okay? How's that? Isn't that a deal? You just say, "Here's what I think is." And by the way, I'll give you credit. I won't give you any royalties, but I'll give you credit, okay? The coaches kind of like that one, didn't you? No royalties, but I'll give you a lot of credit. Now, here's where I'm going with this. I know what one of the laws will be, and I'm not sure it'll be called it this way or be positioned word-wise this way, but one of the laws in communication will be very simple. Get over yourself. I can promise you, the day when you get up to speak to people, it's not about you. It's not about, am I doing well, and do they like me, and am I saying it correctly? You see, when you're wrapped up in all of this stuff, you never can connect with your audience because nobody is reaching. You're not reaching to them. You're here. And what I tell people all the time is the day you become a great communicator and start the step of learning greatness in communication is when you get over yourself. When I talk to you, I'm talking to you right now. It's not about me. It has nothing to do about me. It has everything to do about you. I've got some thoughts here on my iPad, but by and large, it's all about you. I was reading an article by Jerry Seinfeld, the great comedian, and it was very interesting, very insightful about comedy. And so my favorite part, I'm just pulling out part of the article. It was a quote by his, and I want to read it to you. He said, he was talking about how to be successful in comedy. He said, if you're doing it for them, the audience, you'll be fine. If you're doing it for you, that could be problematic at a certain point because they'll know it, they'll feel it, and they won't like it. When I read that, I thought, this man understands communication. Basically, he says, as long as it's about the audience, you're just going to go. But he said, the moment you get wrapped up in yourself, he said, there's going to come a time, they may not catch on the first time, but there's going to come a time where they're going to begin to know it, they're going to begin to feel it, and they're not going to like it, because they're going to know now what you're doing is self-serving. And so as I ponder Seinfeld's words, I believe that they hold value that far beyond just comedy and the entertainment industry. And I would sum up the key point in just 9 words. It's not about you. It's all about them. And I think that is major advice. You see, there's incredible power when you just focus on others. Again, my life was changed when I heard Zig Ziglar in my 20s say, as a leader, if you'll help people get what they want, they'll help you get what you want. All of a sudden, I realized I had to pivot, that I was saying, get on my leadership train, and it was all about me. And that day, Zig said, no, it's not about you, John. It's about others. And I walked out of there, and I said, okay, what Zig is teaching me, now what I'm passing on to you as far as best advice today is add value to people first. You be the first to help them. Don't wait for them to step up and help you. And I know that doesn't make sense. But here I want you to catch this. The more you value others, and the more that you add value to others, the more that you'll receive value back from others. I don't know, what this would almost be the law of the boomerang, okay? There's something about once you pour into other people and quit worrying about what you're going to receive, or quit worrying about how much they like you, all of a sudden, there's a return. Again, I was reading an article, by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. And he said something very interesting. He said he credited Amazon's growth and long-term success on what he called obsessive compulsive focus on the customer. And he has a whole list of what he calls customer obsession, which number 1 is that you put the people absolutely first. And this is such an incredible principle. And so I was writing down some things that I wanted to pass on you. For example, if you're in sales, if the buyer believes that you have their best interest all the time, when they're ready to buy, they'll seek you out. If you're a speaker and the audience knows that it's all about them and not about you, they'll not only embrace your message, they'll embrace you. As a manager, if you're kind and you're encouraging and you give corrective feedback, the people, they'll work harder for you. They'll come back and they'll make those positive changes. When I write, if I'm writing pages and it's about hope and help, I know that reader is going to keep turning the pages. It just happens that way. As a leader, if I'm building trust in my people, I know that they're going to give me trust in return. It's kind of like the golden rule. Treat others as you'd like to be treated, and all of a sudden it comes back to you. Okay, let me squeeze 2 more minutes out. Let me give you number 3. The third advice I would give you, I got from Peter Drucker. After spending my first time with him 3 days with about a dozen other people as he mentored us for 3 days, he finished his last session by saying, now the question I have to ask you as I poured into you is, who are you going to mentor? Who are you going to mentor? In other words, I've done this for 3 days for you now. Who are you going to pour your life into? In my office and home, I have a painting. It's not a great painting, but I've carried it with me for years into all the different homes and offices I've lived in. And it's a painting of a younger brother sitting at a table, and the older brother is painting, and the younger brother is watching him paint. It's a beautiful visual mentoring picture. And I love that because it just reminds me that somebody's watching, and we need to be intentional about pouring into other people's lives. I have 3 college degrees, and I have never had a person, this is amazing, outside of, when I go speak at like a graduation at a university or something, maybe. But other than that, honestly, no one ever asked me about my 3 college degrees. They don't. The coaches here, they don't know what 3 degrees I have. And Andrew, he doesn't know. I mean, nobody asks us, now, John, what college degrees do you have? No one asked me about that. But you know what they always ask me? Who mentored you? Who were the mentors in your life? Because we all understand that we are marked by mentors. And my friend Malcolm Gladwell many years ago taught what I call the law of the few, which basically leaders invest in a few people who have great impact on many others. That's where I got the idea, add value to leaders who multiply value to others. Or as Andy Stanley says, do for one what you wish you could do for many. That's what mentoring is all about. I try to add value to leaders who are going to multiply value to others. In fact, that's why we have Mondays with Maxwell. We have Monday with Maxwell because it's just my goal in 20 minutes, and my time is up with you almost, to always pour into you and just give you a nugget. I just am believing every Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time, you're going to walk away from our time together with just a thought, an idea, a piece of advice that's going to make a difference. And that makes me very happy. I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and I have with me one of our John Maxwell team coaches. And Valeria, we are so excited to have you with us.
Thank you for having me here.
Oh my gosh. Valeria is in our Spanish division, helps us tremendously with the DISC and help give the DISC test to people, correct? And born in Argentina, grew up in Venezuela, right?
Correct.
And now you with your husband, you live in Miami, correct?
In Miami, yeah.
And I'm so glad that you're part of our team. You add so much value to you. So let me ask you really 3 quick questions. One is, before you joined, how did you feel? Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to ask you, how did you feel after you joined? Just talk about the before and after for a moment.
Yeah, to me, before I joined, I started my training and coaching business, which is my passion. And at that time, I was working also in real estate. And I wanted kind of to start drifting away from real estate because I like real estate, but I love training and coaching.
Sure.
And then a friend of mine sent me a message about the certification program. And I have to be honest, at that time, I haven't read any of your books.
Oh, come on. Valeria.
I promise you, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. But then this is what happened. As soon as I went to your website and I saw the information, I thought, this is great. This is great. I don't know where this was before. Kind of like I didn't know why I didn't know it before. So I decided to join. And I decided to join because of the content, of the quality of the content, of the quality of who was delivering the content, right? That's the reason why I joined. But, when you say that, we follow the leaders because of the vision, but we stay with the leader because of the leadership.
That's right.
Right?
That's exactly.
So it was the same thing, right? I joined the team because of the vision, because I saw the content is great, the person leading the team is great, and I wanted that. But then when I went to the first certification event that I went in Orlando, I remember I was walking on the hallway and we met and we started a conversation. Mm-hmm. And then you said to me, I am so proud of you. And you said, you are the legs to my legacy. And then you kept going. And I was like, what? And then that night I called my husband and said, I'm John's leg.
And he said, there's some explanation here.
He was like, what?
That's so
Yes. John told me that I'm one of his legs.
Oh, I love that.
And I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you are.
And this is what happened when I realized that, and I didn't hear you say that before. So to me was, I have a purpose.
Yes.
I have responsibility now, right? I'm one of John's legs. I have to walk the talk, and I have to carry that message far.
Oh, I love
right?
that.
So that was kind of what hooked me, like one of the things, but that was kind of what got me kind of committed to what we do in the John Maxwell team.
And look at you now. You're not only one of the legs of the legacy, but you're in the studio with me, and you're talking to not only me, but people out there that are thinking about joining the John Maxwell team. You've done such a great job sharing, but would you take 15 seconds and in Spanish, talk to our Hispanic friends of why they should join the John Maxwell team? Would you just speak to them right now?
Yes, but before I say something in Spanish, I want to say something else.
Okay.
When we went to Costa Rica, the first day, and I don't know if you explained to the team what we do in Costa Rica, but we do the transformation trips. There was something that happened there. You shared the first day we went to the police academy, and you shared to the graduates the 5 things that you do, right?
Yes.
But every day.
Every day.
I add value to others.
That's right.
I look for ways to add value to others. I think for ways to add value to others.
I do things.
I do things. And then you said, I encourage others to add value to people. And because of that, all my business shift. Because of that advice, that became my motto. And then from there, I changed the way that I was doing business. For me, before then, it was all about, okay, more money, more clients, more, contracts.
Yes.
After that was, wait, let's give value first, and then we're going to get the business. And then what happened is 2020, John, March, all my business just disappeared from one day to another because of what happened. And I went back to the basics. I went back to those 5 things. And because of that, 2020 was my best year ever on my training and coaching business.
Come on.
And I think that's so important to say because it's all about value. And that's what the John Maxwell team is.
It's all about valuing people.
When we think this is the best that it can get, then you or Mark or Chris or Deb Inguino comes to us and said, wait, there is more.
There's more.
There's always more.
There's more. You know, next time, I'm just going to give you the whole program, lady. I tell you what. I mean, she has taken over the whole studio, in case you have not noticed. Now, hey.
So Spanish.
Yes, in Spanish. 15 seconds. 15 seconds. Okay?
Amigos, este es el lugar para estar. Si quieren incluirse dentro del John Maxwell Team, es la mejor decisión que van a hacer en su vida.
Val, that was tremendous. Thank you for being with us. I'm so proud of you. So proud of you.
So now we see there is good advice and Andrew advice. Let's call that unadvice. I hope you've enjoyed today's Monday with Maxwell Lessons. What's some good advice or some unadvice you've received? Let us know in the comments. And what can we say about our John Maxwell team members? Every day, they look for ways to lead in and live out Maxwell leadership principles and philosophies. We're so grateful for the John Maxwell team. Each week, we'll feature a member or mentor from our team who will share their story and their journey with you. Why? Because we want you to see the real stories of difference makers, of value multipliers, and of possibilists. If you want to learn how you too can join John's team of difference makers, go to mondayswithmaxwell.com. Let me say that again. It's Mondays, plural, mondayswithmaxwell.com. Let us know how you saw Mondays with Maxwell and how you want to make a difference. Thank you again for watching today. We'll see you next week for another episode of Mondays with Maxwell.